biggest challenge to self-honesty is a belief in our own badness. Yes, we judge others, but it's the fixation on something's wrong with me that keeps us from being honestly with what's deep down in us. We think that self-judgment, there's something a little bit like high-minded about it, like we're judging ourselves to improve ourselves and we're on our own case in a good way. But any judgment, any perfectionism prevents us from seeing what's here clearly. It takes us away from our own being. We can't be honest. One man that I was working with some years ago shared with me his deepest shame, where he just felt wrong and bad. And it was that he disliked his teenage stepchild. And it's very hard for him to tell me that. He said that this, this young person had, tantrum still, was angry, was rude. He cared about him, he had some compassion, but he really didn't like him. And he was tormented by his own feeling of badness. And he felt like his aversion hurt his wife, who had her own challenges, and trying to not be reactive. And he couldn't talk about it to her, to anyone. He even thought I would judge him, when, to come to me and say, I don't like my stepchild. And for me, I was just struck with the sadness of his suffering around something that's just part of our natural conditioning. When something's really unpleasant, we get aversive. We can't help it. Just the way we're wired. So, so many parents struggle with feeling dislike towards their children. They can love them but not like them, and guilty about it. And so many children feel guilty and bad about not liking their parents. In fact, the guilt gets in the way of touching the love that's there. So anyway, with him, I basically said what I'm saying now. I said, it's not your fault. It's just happening. Not like you decide to put it on the switch of dislike. It just happens. And when I said that, it was like this release could happen. He really started crying because he had been living with this very toxic sense of shame. So he talked to his wife, and she had the same thing going on. So they were able to really hug and hold each other. And in fact, by naming it out loud, by getting real, they had more space to then respond with some equanimity through a very difficult phase of this young man's life. Probably every one of us has had times of something we feel really ashamed about, whether it's some addiction or some way we've treated others or an obsession or a failure. We might have had the experience of confessing it to someone and having them normalize it, and the enormous relief. The enormous relief. So it's key to be able to start holding ourselves in that way. To be able to say, really, this is what's happening, and it's really okay. I mean, I say to myself those words from that Hawaiian healer, I'm sorry for all the suffering that's going on, and I love you. And I say it a lot. I'm naming this out loud because we need to counter the self-aversion. So when I come into one of those conditioned experiences of trying to feel important or special or feeling jealous or lower or falling short or whatever the current neurosis is, I try to say, okay, this is the trance. This is what's going on right now. This is the narrative. This is the special person narrative, or this is the falling short narrative. And I'm sorry. And I love you. And that combo of the honesty and the tenderness allows me to relax back into a bigger reality. This is a poem by Danna Faulds. She says, there is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in, the wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips off the doors of your heart, or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. So this is the practice that requires real courage and intentionality, because our conditioning is to keep doing the old patterns, to not look at the places within us that are caught in a certain kind of trance, that are living behind the veils.